live at the door. All right. All right, you're good. You go inside. Hey, good morning, everybody. I have some cats from overseas over in a band called Homer Jr. Welcome to the pod, y'all.
Thanks for
Hey,
having
thank
us.
you.
Oh my God. I had a chance to listen to the EP a couple of times before. I was actually really worried. I was looking at your guys' stuff and like I was there's not a lot that says y'all are from the overseas. Like yeah, there's not a lot of stuff that says y'all are from England. And then I listened to it and I was like, okay, these guys are there's no way these guys are from the States. So just like the way the vocalist sounds, it's like, okay, cool. I hope like it's 3 p.m. right now. I was like, I hope it's not too late for these guys. And then Jack, you told me that you just put the kids to bed. This is like that y'all's free time is actually after like 8:30.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Well, it's basically like 8:30 p.m. till maybe maybe about 6 a.m. I think at the moment. I've started waking up at about 5 just to get like an hour to myself in the morning.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Well, listen, let's talk about the whole thing. Y'all released a kick-ass EP. Like I probably fine is like this. I've interviewed another band from England called Regal Cheer, and there's something really similar about like the music that's coming out from y'all, where it's a little bit more. There's some really cool punk stuff like that y'all are doing. That is again, I'm not sure what's in the water in Britain, but like, holy shit, everyone is doing this punk thing just so right. Or like this, I mean, yeah, it's a lower BPM thing, but it's still really cool.
Yeah, I think we've got a really strong scene here, and similar to the American scene, like it's there's just some really great bands, all really supportive of each other all across the country, even in sort of like little pockets within different cities and different parts of the country. We've got a great kind of local one in the sort of town area, county we live. Um, and yeah, everybody's different, but we're all kind of super supportive of each other, and yeah, we've all kind of, I guess, in a weird way, kind of drawn on each other's influences a little bit as well. So it's nice to be part of that.
Yeah. So what were you know, how long give us a little rundown. So y'all have been doing this for how long?
So long.
Yeah,
So
I
long.
was gonna say, like, how long have y'all been fucking doing this?
So long. So I think I'm sure every so often this comes up, like we'll get, like when your phone gives you here's a memory of a, like it's a
Yeah.
photo, and it's absolutely horrendous. Like the amount of output that we have managed in the last I don't know how many years is horrendous. I think it was 2016. I want to say it was summer of 2016
Okay,
that
cool.
Jack was sort of just I just saw Jack put out a Facebook post saying, "Oh, I was like, oh, I want to start a band. Does anyone want to play bass?" And I thought, yeah, go on then. This will be I'll say I'll play bass. That'll be a way in, and then sort of
Yeah. Did you have to learn to play bass? Did you have to cover your ass?
no. So I played bass in a few bands before, always with the idea that I own a bass. I would call myself a guitarist before I call myself a bass player, but I own a bass. I own a bass amp, and people always need bass
People
players.
always need a bass amp as well.
People, yeah. Whenever we go to shows, there's definitely been more than one occasion where we've been booked to play a show, and it is 100% because we have access to both a big old bass amp and car to transport it in. Because no one bothers to buy the amp.
Now,
So
do you
yeah.
have that big motherfucker, that Ampeg giant cabinet?
Oh, I
No.
wish. I think I played through one at a practice room once. I think really really early on in the Homer Junior, in the life of Homer Junior. It's like this is the
It's
sickest thing
just
in the
such
world.
That thing is
But you,
just such a legendary piece of equipment. It never can fit in a car. It's like I in my Corolla, it was able to fit it. It was a miraculous situation when also you mentioned playing bass from being a guitarist. As a guitarist, I miss playing bass. I miss like not having to sing, not having to worry about so much where I could just fucking vibe out and like actually just crush just root notes and just fuck it. Like I miss that so much.
Oh,
yeah.
that's my style of playing. Because I completely screwed Tom over by saying, "Oh, can someone play bass?" And also, as a little side thing, I didn't mention at the time, I needed someone to sing as well because
I think
um,
singing and playing bass would be fun. I think it would be a little bit less pressure.
It can be fun. I don't know, like so that is maybe two-thirds, three-quarters of our songs. It's me playing bass and singing. Then we have a few songs where Jack and I swap instruments, so I'll play the guitar instead. And I don't really know how we make that decision that it's going to be a Tom guitar or a Jack guitar song. I
Sure.
think like maybe I don't know. Sometimes it's I've written a guitar part and I and I'm a control freak and I want it played just so, and and I'll just sort of give Jack a look when I play it to the guys in practice, and he's like, yeah, okay, yeah. Do you want to you play this if you want?
Do y'all,
But
when you guys are live, do y'all switch instruments when you have to do
yeah,
like the correct stuff too? See, that's so much fun. It gives a little bit more theater to the whole thing.
yeah.
that's
It's a bit it's a bit silly. We tried to we tried to like over engineer like a solution to sort of making that switch happen. Though we got I think three or four ABY boxes
Oh,
so that we would only
funny.
need like one guitar amp, one bass amp, and we could have like our own. I think during COVID we were like, nah, I don't mind sharing my amp, but Jack, get your own bass, mate. I don't want your sweaty I don't want your sweaty mitts all over my bass. So we spent forever trying to figure out how we could wire that up, and an embarrassing amount of time, given that to an extent all three of us kind of work in to varying extents in like audio. So it should have been a really easy thing for us, and then we fucked it off and decided no, we'll just take the cable out of the amp, plug it into the other one. There you go. It's
That
easy.
okay. So when it comes to kind of like the DIY-ness of in England and doing this whole thing and almost doing it for 10 years. Tell us what is unique about the DIY scene kind of in England. Or this is also interesting because England is also like so different in via square mile than it is in the United States. So like it could be
Mm.
varying from one place to another 50 miles away, where it would be 600 miles away here. So like are you guys all based in the same city, or did you guys kind of move around and been doing this like separately but also together at the same time?
we're all well, we all sort of like live in the same, well, within about an hour of each other in
Okay,
the same
cool.
county, but within that there are three separate cities within that hour. So it is quite tight and compact. And then Tom is originally from a place called Bicester, which is like another hour and a bit away. It's probably 2 hours
Yeah.
from you now, right?
Yeah, these days, yeah, probably about 2 hours. But yeah, and
Um,
you're from Bristol.
yeah, which is
We're all pretty
another.
spread, all from sort of like quite spread out. But well, spread out as far as England goes, as you said, Christy. Like
Yeah.
England is pretty small, and it feels like we're from kind of far flung parts of the country. But realistically, you could probably drive in a straight line from the furthest one to the next, and it's not super far. But so we all kind of met, if you will, in a town called Cheltenham, in Gloucestershire.
Okay.
Uh, yeah.
Now
And
the
that's a really weird scene. So, like, just the county itself of Gloucestershire, you've got like the two major towns are Cheltenham and Gloucester, and they are like right next to each other. They have one road that goes between them called the Golden Valley, and I think it's like 4 miles long. It's not far at all. There's always a case being made by some like local nutter to sort of like combine the two towns into one, but no one can agree what it would be called or why the hell we do it.
That's so funny.
but like they're so different. Gigs in the like gigs and shows in the two towns have such a different vibe. And it's not for want of trying either. I think, like the one of the sort of major local promoters who does most of his work in Cheltenham is trying to make inroads into sort of putting shows on in Gloucester. And it's just sort of, I don't really know how to describe it, but just it's got a very different vibe. And there's we're getting there. I think we're getting there as far as getting shows in that sort of make sense in both towns. But there's just been a sort of there's like hundreds of years of history between these two towns. So
That's dude, I get it. I mean, like I lived in England for 4 months after I graduated high school. I lived in Totnes. Um
oh well,
which is I love Totnes. It was and like I love that whole part of the um that whole left side of the of England is just like beautiful. Um and I will never forget there was this when what's the best way to explain this? In the United States, it's such a young country in comparison. And so like I'll never forget when going to this cemetery and I think we were going there to smoke weed and someone was telling me and it was like this in a perfect British accent they were telling me how like the wall goes 6 feet up but it also goes 6 feet below because there's like the Catholic side of the graveyard and like the other side of the or the other side of the graveyard so they're separate in death as well. So like there is like so much stuff happening in England but it could be straight up like those two cities could be completely different just because of hundreds and hundreds of years of history.
100%. In fact, one of our favorite places to play in our local town is a barn in a venue called the Frog and Fiddle, and that is I'm going to get this wrong now, which is embarrassing because I work there as well. It's built in the 1600s, which is
and it's called the Frog and Fiddle.
Odd. Yeah,
that's some
I don't think it's always been
shit.
called that.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's a cool place. Yeah, I love it. I love it and equally hate it because it takes up loads and loads of my time trying to fix everything.
All right, so actually, what do y'all do for a living?
Some of us are the least like some. I think all three of us have like the least sort of punk rock day jobs, but we all
that's real. I literally work in like tech, so like I think that people that are doing punk music usually end up doing something behind a computer.
Yeah. Jack,
that's pretty much it. Yeah. Well, I make podcasts for a large charity here called the National Trust, and we look after nature and history stuff. So that's my bag, and then side gig is I work as a sound engineer as well. So working at lots of festivals, cool venues around the UK, not so cool venues around the UK, and where basically if it makes noise. That's me.
Okay, here's a question. Have you ever heard of Headliner? Like the app?
Yeah.
I work for Headliner.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So I've been working in podcasting for years on the tech side, which is so I'm glad that there's people that recognize that shit overseas. That's hilarious.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool as hell.
Yeah, I love that. That's so sick. We'll have to talk after this and like you tell me and I'll definitely hook you guys up, whatever you guys need. Like,
amazing.
Yeah, hell yeah. And Thomas, what do you do?
I am a management accountant for a rural university.
Yeah, let's fucking go. I love that shit. I love boring day job stuff for people like that. No wonder we're in bands. No
well, this is it. Exactly that. I used to work for an events firm and I had very, very little spare time. So that was before having kids. But I had very, very little spare time. As soon as I quit that job and started working at this university in the middle of nowhere, I was all of a sudden like, oh God, I really, really, I really need to scratch that itch now because I'm a straight white male, so I could fit in most places, but even there, I kind of feel like I am not. This is not the place for me.
That's
Because the
so
place is
funny.
full of straight white males, but they are like, I don't know. I, it's
Super
It's
posh.
it's
it's
so yeah, it's
it's
so
just
posh. It's
so
like
posh. Okay, cool, cool, cool,
yeah,
cool.
it's so like it's there's a lot, it's very very historical place, and but I think it's got a history as a sort of it's kind of like a private sort of finishing school for agricultural families. It's
Okay.
an absolutely mad place. It's great. It's kind of great. It's we're gonna have to cut a bunch of this out probably because but anyway,
That
so I do
that's
that.
cool though. It's still cool because again, I found that the people that are doing this specifically in this like no one is doing music at this level that doesn't have like a wild day job. Either and most people either that love this thing have like one foot in, one foot out. Like Jack works, kind of still in it. Like you're still doing audio, you're still doing this whole thing. And Thomas, you're doing like, hey, I have to have like by day I'm numbers guy and by night I'm screaming into a microphone. Like
That's it,
that
and I also so where Jack says he does sound engineering at venues up and down the country. I always joke that I do the same thing and I just pick up the gigs that he doesn't want because I also work at the Frog and Fiddle quite a bit, but it tends to be the shows that he's just no,
that's
I don't want
so
this.
Yeah,
funny.
and it should, we should also probably mention Sam as well on his job. So our drummer Sam, I don't think this band would exist without him, purely for the fact that he works in a different university that has a studio and a place to rehearse in. So that's just
That's that
the
lucky shit. That's that. There's
this is it.
always the like this the secret little plot twist. Oh yeah, I also have a practice space. Like that is that's beautiful.
It's the dream. It is well, it's kind of it sounds like the dream.
What makes it a little iffy?
No, I mean to having that practice space, having that studio at our disposal is incredible. It's the most valuable thing that you could ask for. It's so fantastic. It's brilliant. It does mean I think sometimes because we know that it's really during the sort of the summer break that we can get in there for pretty much as much time as we want. It, like you, there's a danger, I guess, that you could spend so much time in there and try and just kind of fine tune everything. I don't think there's any
Sure, sure,
danger with
sure.
Homer Junior of us doing that.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
The flip side of that is we're all chronically lazy.
Oh, that's so good.
Takes so long for us to do absolutely anything.
Mm.
There was a band that near us that broke up recently, and I think yesterday or the day before just announced they were back together. They had broken up for I think a total of about 3-4 months, and that is probably the amount of time we go between seeing each other
Yeah,
on a
we've
regular
not been in
basis.
the same room for longer than that band had been split up. It's so this Homer Junior is so much fun and it's so incredibly dumb at the same time. Like
I
we cannot pull our stuff together.
it's so good to know that like this is I love talking to bands that are doing it for the love of the game. Like y'all are friends first and then like bandmates at the most random times. And it's like that's what I love about this. And actually like Homer Jr. like y'all was it always Homer Jr. for the last 9 years? Or did you guys change the name and it's now like Homer
Yeah,
Jr. now?
so since pretty much since day one, I think possibly since before we even got into a practice room, certainly since before Sam joined. And I think Sam joined in like 2017, 2018. So we'd kind
Cool.
of been Jack and I had thrashed out a couple of songs, but we'd always been Homer Junior. We've all three of us been in a whole bunch of different bands in the past to varying levels of success. I would say probably Sam is the sort of most decorated, if you will.
There's always a need for a drummer. So like the drummer usually
Oh yeah,
the drummer usually comes from like veteran status.
Yeah, and he absolutely is the veteran in the band. And he probably won't thank me for saying that, being that he's got years and wrinkles on me for sure. But yeah. So it's always been Homer Junior when it's been the three of us anyway.
Cool. Well, let's talk about the record, y'all. What were y'all listening to when you were making it? What do y'all just listen to in general? Like, what was kind of the vibe for it? Because like I was picking out so many cool influences when I was listening through it.
Thanks. I mean, we listened to a whole bunch of stuff. I think if you'd ask us on a different day, it'd be like a different album or a different artist at different
Sure.
times. I listen to myself. I listen to a lot of DIY punk. I think that's why this band works so well for me. Why I love it so much is because I'm making the music that I also love listening to.
Mhm.
Um, but then at the same time, I'm also surrounded by music and cool bands when I'm working as well. So I think it's difficult, I guess, to pinpoint exactly one thing. Also, going back to us being super lazy, there are songs that we were listening to probably about 3 or 4 years ago. Um, that have had an influence on it, and I'll be honest, I can't remember what any of those were, but I know they were bangers because it's something must have worked somewhere along the lines. Yeah. Well, how about you, Tom?
Yeah, give me 2 seconds. I've got a robot vacuum that keeps trying to break its way into this room, so I'm just going to turn that off.
No,
Um,
it's really cool. I think that the record, I like the concept that yes, there was inspiration, but two, we don't know what it was.
that's it. I mean, I'm a sucker for a cool riff in a song. I'm
Yeah,
also a sucker for listening to loads of stuff from like when I was a teenager, and like I keep sort of going back to it and keep going back to it. I know, Tom, you might be the same with one of your favorite bands, Ruben. I'm not sure how much that's influenced us at all, or this record at all. Um, for me, yeah, lots of like different things. Like Paul Tiger Tail, I know was a good band. I like Motion City Soundtrack. They,
sure.
yeah, listened to them a whole bunch. Alkaline Trio as well for me,
That
one of
is
those sort of
probably
big bands I keep going back to. But
that's what I was pulling out. I was pulling out when I was listening to it, like a lot of Alkaline Trio and the Motion City soundtrack is because you guys have a pop thing as well.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
like there's like some kind of there's not a lot of minor key. It's a lot of major key kind of almost pop stuff, but it's still like that punk thing where with the drummer just brings in that pop beat, the punk beat, which is just like so nice, just almost in all the songs.
Yeah, so I find it quite hard. I know the music that I like, and then I think there's music that influences the music that I make, and I think those things are kind of maybe there's a Venn diagram and there is some stuff in the middle. But when I think about it and I listen back to some of the stuff that we write, particularly the way that some of the stuff that we or the way that we record some of the stuff, I think actually sitting in the back of my mum's car in like the early 2000s or the late 90s and with her having like compilations of like big pop bangers from maybe the late 80s and early 90s has
Sure.
had such a massive kind of like subconscious influence because I am absolutely a sucker for a big pop chorus but I'm too cool, right? I won't let myself go sort of like hog wild on like a pumping synth bass line and a drum machine. No, 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 no. It's all got to be real. It's got to be gotta have real drums, gotta have guitars because I'm a fucking cool guy, right? So there's that, and then there's all of the nostalgia of the kind of like pop punk and kind of like emo pop punk kind of stuff that I
Sure.
grew up with in the 2000s. But then I guess in the last kind of 5, 10 years or so, I've kind of really thrown myself into listening to kind of there's a particular sort of strand of the UK DIY scene. So bands like Fresh, Cheerbleeders, Happy
Hmm.
Accidents. Um, it's funny, we sort of half jokingly refer to these bands as the Rich Mandel cinematic universe. Rich has got his mitts over all of those bands. He is probably, I mean, if you want to bring down UK DIY in one move, you've got to take out Rich Mandel, I think, and that would bring basically the entire scene crashing to the ground because he is either played on or produced pretty much like I would
That's
say
so
50% of the
funny.
UK DIY output.
That's so funny because I've heard about Fresh because they just did a tour in the States
Mm.
with a bunch of our friends in the community, like Ogbert the Nerd, all those guys. That's so cool. I want to look up this guy because like there's a couple of people in here that are like these cornerstone keystone people in the community where it's like you just take them out and it's like cool. There's whatever is the next 5 years is done because whatever projects they were going to keep going is just kaput. Like that makes so much sense. So hell yeah. Let's. When did you guys record the EP? Is this like this is basically brand new? Were you guys doing the lazy thing where it's like, okay, we'll have these songs for a few years and then we'll finally
Yeah.
sit down and do it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, yeah.
That
Without a shadow
one
of
of
doubt.
those one of the songs in particular, When We Are Grown Up, I think it's the last song on the EP, is one of the oldest homogeneous songs there is. I think Jack and I played an early version of that before Sam even joined the band, so probably 2016, 2017. The rest of them have rest of them except for better, I think. So three
Mhm.
of them have been knocking around for a couple of years. You know, like we said earlier, we can go months without being in the same room. So it kind of feels they all still feel kind of new to us in a way,
Sure.
because we've you know we've maybe played them at 10 or 12 shows, and a normal band that would be a month, 2 months, maybe 3 months, maybe a financial quarter's worth of time has passed. But for us, that is, it's basically all the time since COVID. Um, so
Well,
they've all sort of hung around for a bit, but we recorded them all in like real quick succession. I think just over a couple of weeks in the summer.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you guys had a big break from like the first single, Uncomfortable, to like getting up to now. What would you say in those 5 years in between? What have been the big changes in like the growing upness between like 2019 and releasing something in 2024? Do you think that COVID had just like a huge part of like taking time, or was this like more about growing up in itself?
I think in some ways it was like a little bit of both. I think we pre-COVID, it'd be really weird to like have a time machine to go back and imagine if the COVID break had never happened, what songs we sort of like come up with now. I think we kind of we went into the pandemic at sort of similar times in our lives where we were thinking about like starting families and uh, growing up a little bit as well, and doing a lot of sort of uh, a lot of time to do a lot of reflecting when you can't leave the fucking house at all. Um,
Yeah. Hey, we're all hearing the bands that are coming out from COVID. Like that's all the music that is like basically out last year, this year, and the year after is all projects that were made during COVID. So like this makes a lot of
this
sense.
is it. Um, I mean, yeah. So one of the songs we'd written beforehand, and one Tom mentioned when we are growing up, and that's kind of introspective a little bit. But I think the way it sort of came together, I think you performed sort of a version. You did like one of those live stream things. I think it was or you popped up on YouTube your basement sessions, Tom, where it was
Oh
you
yeah,
played
shit,
like a
yeah.
version of it, and I was like, ah, shit, this is much better. This is much better than
Yeah.
the song I wrote.
We'd not. I don't think we'd
Let's play
played it
this.
like live before then. I don't think we'd even played it with Sam. Maybe I think it was just something that you and I had jammed out. with
Maybe.
Ben, our old drummer, and then just kind of left it to one side. And then I always had a kind of soft spot for it. I thought, there's something here, and yeah, I I went down into I lived in a house with a real sort of nasty, crusty, moldy basement that you would never normally spend any time in, but it was a perfect aesthetic to kind
Yep.
of sit
It
down
had the
there with
vibe.
a
That's
guitar,
it.
some like fairy lights, on a mannequin. I don't know why I had a mannequin. Wasn't my mannequin.
It's perfect. It wasn't
Think
even
it came with the
yours.
house. Think it just lived down there. Think it might still be down there now. Don't live in that house anymore.
Incredible.
But yeah, so that was a bit of fun. I think there's yeah, I think Jack's right. So we went into COVID at sort of similar times. Personally, I think there's a lot of about a year or so ago. I think maybe knocking on for 2 years now. Maybe we were on our way back from playing a show. It was I think probably one of our favorite shows. Certainly, I think maybe my favorite one that we've played. Oh, it's up there, top three. And we were just chatting about, look what we've done and how far we've come, not as a band, but as kind of people in our personal lives over the last however many years. And how and we were sort of talking about, it's quite hard really to keep writing songs that basically follow the line of, yeah, I'm a piece of shit and I'm so sad, when actually you're not. You're not sad anymore, and you don't think you're a total piece of. Hey, I'm still a piece of shit sometimes, but
Oh,
like
you're so
most of
right.
the time.
Oh my God, you're so right. Because it's like in the beginning, you just are finally getting your feelings out, right? And
Yeah.
like you're like, hey, yeah, I'll sing about being sad. I have no problem singing about being sad. This is the first time I'm doing it. And then like you've just hung out and played shows, and you're like, wait, what do I write about now? Like,
Yeah.
because holy
That's
shit,
it.
shit isn't this is the best it's ever been.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, like we've both, both Jack and I, we've got two kids each. We've both got fantastic wives. That sounds like so old fashioned to say, doesn't it? But like we've got good, happy lives. Nearly everything's great. There's always, pain subjective, right? But like
Sure.
there's always going to be something. But I feel like my life in particular now is completely unrecognizable from the one that I was leading when we wrote Uncomfortable, when we wrote Sad Sack in particular. That it's night and day. So there's a lot of kind of and I think that comes through in some of the songs on the record. One in particular, Better, is kind of, it's pretty on the
Sure.
nose.
Yeah.
The chorus of it is pretty much exactly what I was just talking about. But yeah, I think there's been a lot of kind of emotional recovery and growth. I want to
Yeah.
say, not
Y'all
to
went
get sort of too highfalutin,
COVID
but
was rehab.
yeah,
Yeah, in a lot of ways, yeah.
That's fucking awesome. I love that you hit the nail on the head when it comes to like what it's like making music after just years of doing it, and where you have to you find, in the original wells that you dug out in those first songs, and then you have to like, you're like, I don't feel comfortable digging in that well anymore, and you have to build your new wells and like dig in different places to, because I'm not sure if I think people are scared of singing about happy shit, especially in punk and like especially in like emo and hardcore and stuff. Like no one wants to sing about how everything's great.
yeah, it's tough. It's tough,
It's
right? Because
tough.
it's not great, and I think it is hard because um like, yeah, personally, everything's pretty much as good as it's ever been for me.
Mhm.
But it doesn't take much for me
Maybe
to
it's
open
just
my phone on.
external. Yeah, like you
Well,
have to
that's
start.
exactly the
Yeah,
Yeah,
world
yeah.
outside my window is fucking burning.
yeah.
But inside
So
the house, it's quite nice and warm, and actually, I've got my family, and we're all happy. So,
and in ignorance is bliss, and that they'll, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Okay, that makes, yeah. I think that is a reason why like a lot of people's second dip into the well is never really internal, it's external, or it's usually like about people's time on the road, or it's sometimes people can get pretty political on their second outing, or people's lives never changed and they're going even deeper on the second outing. So
Yeah.
like that's really fascinating. I like thinking about it that way. But actually, I wanted to play a song from y'all. What song from the new EP would you like to hear on the podcast?
Oh,
Go on,
dunno.
Jack. You choose, Jack.
Well, only because my daughter's a huge fan of it. So I'm gonna go for Fun Sponge because it's got
I
the
love
big
it.
sing along chorus.
It does. Okay, here's Fun Sponge by Homer Jr.
Stop being such a fun sponge. Stop picking fights when we don't need one. Don't always have to be a dick. Your fear of kindness makes me sick. Stop being such a fun sponge. Yeah. Such a fun sponge.
That was Fun Sponge by Homer Jr. Y'all, it was a pleasure talking to y'all from across the pond. Really hope
thank you.
I hope to somehow meet y'all at some point. Come see a show. There's a bunch of cool DIY stuff happening over there, and thanks for being a part of it. But you guys have a wonderful rest of your night. Get some fucking sleep. And we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you, Christy.
Hey,
Cheers.
take it easy, Jack and Thomas.
Cheers.
Cheers.